It has been a whole year since Coloratura fired her old manager Sven Gallup. She was very tired of all of that his shenanigans after she found out that he had been using her status as a pop singer for his own personal gain, and even terrifying some of her fans like that. And after all this, she was very grateful to have found a new manager who treats her well-being, who treats her with respect and honesty. She is very happy to have found her new manager, and especially thanks to Twilight, who managed somehow reached out to some of the other pop singers to maybe find a new better manager. But even despite this, she was very concerned if her old manager, Sven Gallup, would use some of his own old contacts somehow to damage her reputation as a pop singer. But ever since she fired him, there hasn't been any word from him or anywhere else. So she has so all her fear and concern about Sven Gallup would use his own knowledge about her to damage her reputation never happened. But still, she was still for only for the past few months after she fired him. She was so scared after that he could do something to damage her reputation. But she didn't. Ever since then, the first concert, charity concert in Ponyville, when she came out to the public, that she had decided to be herself as a persona as the old Countess Coloratura. She loved to see her fans at every concert she went to, and especially now when she has been on a tour around in Equestria for 2 whole weeks straight. She was so tired of that, and she wanted to take a break from it. So she had asked her manager for permission so if she can take maybe 1 or 2 weeks of vacation time to relax after all this traveling around in Equestria on a tour. And as her new manager was full of respect and kindness to her, he actually granted her 2 whole weeks of vacation time. But the only exception for that, she will relax as much as she can, which she granted and she will do. So even after all this, she even wrote back to Applejack and telling her she is coming to Ponyville for vacation time to relax. And Applejack wrote back and said that she is looking forward to see her old friend. Ever since then, that charity concert, Applejack and Coloratura have been a constant pen pals. They have reached out to reopen their old friendship again. Coloratura not only seeing Applejack as her old friend, she's seeing her as a sister. They have been doing so much when they would fall back in the camp friendship. When Coloratura arrived to the far to Ponyville, she was greeted by Applejack and Aunt Bloom at the train station. She was very happy to see her old friend again. They went to the Sweet Apple Acres, where all of their friends were actually there to meet them. Even though when Coloratura had expected many more ponies would expect maybe asking for autographs, but turned out Applejack had been telling ponies in town that she is coming over to town, but only to relax, and doesn't even want to be much bothered because she wants to be some having relaxing time. So ponies in town actually did walk up to her, but just greeted her, welcome to Ponyville, and hopes that she has a good time there, but nothing as much. She didn't mind to talk to some of the ponies by saying thanks to them. But when she came to the farm, Applejack's friends was actually there. They had arranged some lunch for them to eat, which Coloratura didn't even mind. After all, homemade food is the best thing that she knows, and especially when it comes to Granny Smith's apple pies and even apple bread. She loved that, even when she was used as the filly when she often visited Applejacks at the farm. She could have been happier to be there to have some of old favorites. Even though they were just talking about this recent tour she had around Equestria, they all talked about it. And, like, they asked some questions like what she enjoyed the most of it, and what she thought about the travels, and what she thought about the cities she went to. She actually enjoyed their company. Even at the evening around 7 p.m., Coloratura said that she wants to go to bed because she was so tired after a whole day with her friends, and they all agreed to maybe see each other the next day. But during that night, Coloratura still could even fall asleep. There was nothing worried about herself, but just laying in a bed at the farm was something she had very much missed ever since she was a filly. But she was now having such a great time. Having experienced an entire environment change from a big city, from Manhattan, with the constant movements, sounds from the streets, but moving, staying some time at a small farm on the countryside, far away from any constant noise and that, except for maybe from the birds like an owl or crickets. That sounds made her fall asleep even faster. For the next couple of weeks, and a couple of days, Cultura actually had a great time with Applejack. They often went to the small lake nearby to just relax in the water, just having such a great time. Even though when Cultura realized that this visit would only last for another week, she wished she could stay there longer. But being one of the most popular pop singers in Equestria, she realized she may have to go back to Manhattan soon enough and start record from her new albums, new singers, and even new planning for upcoming tours and like that. Even after all this time, she really had missed her old friend, and spending the 2 weeks at the farm on the countryside was exact what she needed. She felt so well relaxed, and that on the last day of those 2 weeks, she thanked both Applejack and her friends for all the good things she had spent time there. She said she felt so relaxed. She hasn't felt this relaxed in a while, and she promised she would be back soon enough to have some more relaxation time with her friends. Even after all of this, what else could she have asked for much better? She thanked Applejack once again and promised she would have to keep in touch as soon as possible. Though. Back in Manhattan, she was really excited to be back at work though. She started planning some new songs for a new record. Even after all of this, she's really happy though. She planned out meet up with some new writers and planning for new songs. And even though her manager had an arranged for another concert, but then she asked if there was another tour. But he said no. This is a small charity concert in Appaloosa. Appaloosa, she asked herself. She realized and remembered it's a small town in the desert, and also remembered one of Applejack's relatives lives in Appaloosa, by the name Braeburn, who is in fact a cousin to her. She was really excited to see him. After all, she hadn't even seen him in so many years. But she was actually accepted this idea as a charity concert. But she asked for more details, exactly what this charity was about. It turned out this charity was going to help the ponies in Appaloosa to plant more trees of apple trees and help the buffaloes to get some more food for themselves. It has been some sort of drought or dry season in the area, and there has been a lot of loss to some apple trees, and that the ponies in Appaloosa didn't have afford enough to be able to buy as much of the trees as needed. And she thought this was actually a very good reason for the charity. She accepted. So, but she had one idea for this charity. What if they could actually perform some maybe old songs and new songs for the concert? Since most of the ponies there most likely like this countryside music, so she has suggestions. What to make the songs more like a countryside, country music? And her manager actually liked the idea. And since especially these ponies in Appaloosa lives on the countryside and the far desert, and they actually do like country music, so why not perform some of the songs as maybe as styled as a countryside? So they all start working on new songs as country music, and the work went ahead. 2 weeks later, she went to Appaloosa with her new crew, with the new songs, and when she put up this concert, every pony there, including Braeburn, has always been have been listening to her music. But when the word came to Appaloosa that Coloratura will put up a charity work concert to help ponies there, they were all excited. And having such great pop singer to helping them in this charity work was something they were really appreciated. And of course, when the news spread out to other small towns in the area, they all went there to see this concert. And it was actually much even bigger, and many ponies and even the buffaloes had a ride. In After the concert was over, they had managed to raise to at least more than double of the money that they needed. So the ponies in Appaloosa was more than grateful to Coloratura, who had managed to reach the expectation of even more than it first thought. But during the stay, though, Coloratura had decided maybe that the team and her crew could maybe stay in Ponyville maybe for 1 or 2 days to just somehow to relax for at least. And her manager thought maybe it was a good idea. So during those 2 days, Coloratura actually spent some time with Braeburn. They hadn't even seen each other for such a long time, and they were actually good friends. But there was one thing that Coloratura wasn't even aware of. Braeburn actually had been in love with her for nearly 5 years. But it wasn't until now when he told her about it. She blushed when he told her, and she really expressed her true feelings for him. And it turned out she had been in love with Braeburn also for 5 years. But since she has been so much busy for the past 5 years, especially when she had her old manager Sven Gallop. But now with her new manager, she knows she will have more time to spend time with maybe with Braeburn. They decided to write letters back and forth to each other. And she did mention one of those letters a couple of weeks later. She's going to see Applejack in Ponyville within the next couple of months, within the next month, for just some small vacation time for about a week. And when he was told about it, he decided to go to Ponyville to spend time with her, since that was the only perfect moment for that. When she arrived, she was actually greeted by Braeburn at the train station, though, and 1 month later. But still, she was grateful to see him. From that moment, they start dating. And it didn't take long for the general public, to keep aware that Coloratura, one of the most great pop singers in Equestria, had been dating a country pony by the name Braeburn, a relative to Applejack, one of those modern great heroes. Even when Applejack's family, all the relatives in Western Equestria became aware of this, they were actually just happy to see that Braeburn had found some pony to be with. Even though there were a lot of ponies that tried to maybe spread some rumors like Braeburn and Coloratura was now engaged after that they just been dating for about maybe 6 months, and now they were also happy to get married in secret. Even though ponies that were didn't even believe any of those supposed rumors. But that didn't even bother either Coloratura or Braeburn, because as long as they were having each other in their lives, they didn't even bother much about that. But they were just happy to be with one they loved the most. But there was one small problem they had to take care of first. And that was not a long distance relationship, but since they couldn't see each other so often as they wanted. Due to the fact that Culture is a great pop singer and I had also constant rehearsals, recording new sound, new records, and even going on concerts across Equestria, and even gone on tours, not only in Equestria, but sometimes even to Meritonia, Arabia, even Griffithstone. She really wanted to see us as often as she wanted to, but sometimes they barely see each other, maybe for maybe as 2 to 3 months. But they made it work at all. Even there were some thoughts, maybe words, some talks, maybe this relationship wouldn't work. There were in fact some concerns from Applejack had asked a Braeburn how this relationship was gonna how this works since they don't see each other so often. Maybe they weren't even meant to be each other. When he heard that, first he tried to convince Applejack that even despite all of this, he still loves her. But when she tried to ask him again if it was maybe worth it them to be together, he got a little bit upset about it and said, Applejack, I thought all of you should have been proud that I'm dating some pony by now. I'm sorry, cousin, but I'm just saying, I'm just, I'm just a little bit worried if this relationship won't work and maybe this end up in a breakup. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I know, Applejack, he said. He was actually understandable because even among their friends, even his friends back in Appaloosa had been telling them the same thing. But he understood their concerns and developed their fear about if this relationship would want to work. But it worked. Despite they even saw each other for nearly maybe as 1 or 2 months apart, sometimes maybe didn't see each other for a whole 3 months. But the constant letters between each other made it work. But after all this time, Colora's love for Braeburn remained solid strong. But after nearly 4 years of being dating, something did happen that some pony never expected to happen. Because one time after being dating for 4 years, Colchora went to see Applejack for about a week, some her small vacation times she usually has now. Braeburn was also there for vacation time, or at least for a visit. He actually had something else planned to do. On the second day when she was there, she actually got proposed by Braeburn, and she said yes immediately. She was so excited, but when the news came to when they told her family, his family, all they could say was, "Finally, you're getting married," said Applejack and Applebloom. All their family was just excited. And soon enough, the whole general public became aware of this big news. The big news spread across Equestria like wildfire. The pop singer Coloratura is getting married with her country boyfriend, Braeburn. The wedding in 2 months. Every pony was really happy for him. And the news between Apple for Braeburn and Coloratura it couldn't be more happier. The wedding actually did take place at the sweet Apple Acres 2 months later, and then the whole Apple family was really happy to see this great, handsome stallion Braeburn to get married with his beautiful fiancée Coloratura. They even went to Las Vegas for a whole week for their honeymoon, and they just had such a great time there, enjoying the rides and even on the performance, and just having a great time. And now had even entered a new chapter in their lives together. Shortly after the honeymoon, they decided to live in Pony, since it was a more quiet place and most perfect space for them all. But just 2 years after they'd been married, they wanted to start a family. And just only a couple of months later, they actually had their own first child, a son. They named their son Country Music. Very as a young age, he was discovered to be such talent in singing, like his own mother. And in fact, Coloratura even gave him some private singing classes by himself so he can improve his singing ability skills even better. And at a young age, about 10, he took part of the talent show in his school first by singing, and he won. That has sparked his interest to be a country singer like his mother. Even though his mother was a pop singer, using the most common new pop songs, but he preferred to be country music. And he actually had some help from his aunt Applejack. She had even written some of her own songs. And she actually was teaching him how to make his own country music. And her help actually made it a great deal. And he actually saw his own mother as his idol as a singer. He actually started singing, and one day when he was about 19, when he was in Manhattan with his own mother when she was recording, she actually had given some time for him to just singing in this recording studio with some of the music, and even her manager was really impressed of how talented her own son were in singing. She was even told, he is a natural talent, and he has a great potential to be a singer like you. So he actually had reached out to some other contacts who was another manager who was looking for a new country singer, and when he was told that Colshore's son, country music, was in fact a country singer, and when he was invited to see well her country music was performance in the studio, he was hooked. He actually had gained his own manager, and he decided to live in Manhattan to perform new country music, and it gave him so much popularity, not only because he's the son of Coloratura, but only that he had regained his own popularity on his own. He performed on many charities, many local events, but he loved it. And one day he even fell in love with a pony, a mare from Manhattan, a teacher. They even got married after they'd been dating for about 3 years, and they even had 2 daughters of their own. 3 years later, they had another child, a daughter she named Apple Tart. Like her own father, she loved to help around at the sweet apple acres by bugging apples like the family. Even she was also good in singing, and sometimes she did sing from her family and friends from time to time. Sometimes even at some family reunion. It happens that some of her family members had asked if she wanted to be a singer like her older brother, country music. But she said no. The only other thing that she did like was, in fact, baking. She loved to spend time baking with her Aunt Applejack and even Grant Smith, even though she loved the bean baking. And there was another person, another pony that she sometimes even baked with was, in fact, her aunt Pinkie Pie, who she actually looked up to as an idol. And when she was about 12, she started working, or at least helping around at the Sugar Cup Corner with Pinkie as her unofficial assistant. She even became a very good friend with the Cake Twins. She loved that. She actually has a great time with them, despite they were a bit older than herself, but she actually had a great time. They taught her even some old family recipes that they have been learned since they were young. And then when she was 14, she actually won a school contest in baking. And that has sparked her interest to be a baker even more. When she was 18, she started working as officially as Pinkie Pie assistant at Sugar Cup Corner, and she loved it. Even despite she had now fulfilled her childhood dream to be a baker. But she loved the work there. She always greeted the customers with a smile and even sometimes played something a little bit joke or even tell some sort of joke to customers to make them feel a bit smiling better, which Pinkie actually had taught her about that. Even one day when Pinkie had decided to retire, she was actually very happy to see that Apple Tart had learned so much from her over the years, and now she considered herself as her baking master, or at least for Pinkie joked about. But she actually did like to see that Apple Tart had learned so much from her, and now she decided to teach others the same thing. But it happens though that Pinkie returned back from time to time to help around. But when Apple Tart was about 22, she actually fell in love with a musician from Ponyville. And they actually dated for about 2 years before they got married and even had two daughters of their own. The love between Coloratura and Braeburn had remained so strong over after all these years. Even if Coloratura had even been traveled had a concert in Appaloosa all those years ago, she may never have expressed her feelings for Braeburn and never had found a soulmate, and I would miss out so much joy with some pony she really care about. Even the same is for Braver. If he had never met Colchora after all those years, never expressed his feelings for her, he would have missed out so much joy and happiness with some pony that would have made him really, really happy. And this is how Colchora and Brayburn found a true love and got a big family together. The end.